Welcome back for part 23 in this narrated series of videos which sit alongside my GCSE Science Sprints. Today's question is a relatively straightforward, low tariff question from Unit 3 of AQA GCSE Chemistry or Combined Science, which is the quantitative chemistry unit. This is most likely to come up on paper 1 of your GCSEs, but don't forget that these quite straightforward quantitative chemistry questions can also be included in paper 2, in the same way that they can include atomic structure in both papers and also some of the simple bonding questions in both papers. So the first thing you're going to do is to identify that you've been given some masses, they're asking about moles. This is a masses Mr. Mole equation question. So you're going to write down that equation. And then you can see that in the question you've been given the mass, and you've been asked to work out the moles, so the missing information right now is the MR, or relative formula mass. So we're going to calculate this, and we're going to do that by adding together the masses of all of the atoms in that compound. If you're not very confident with your simple formulae, definitely do some practice of that. The one mistake we often see at this stage is that students, because there's no number next to the S, they get a bit confused about how many sulfur atoms there would be. So remember, the 4 that's next to the oxygen only applies to the oxygen. You have to sort of imagine that there's an invisible number 1 next to the sulfur. I always tell my students, chemists are lazy, we don't like writing the number 1, we just miss it out. So you could either use brackets and multiply like I've done here, or you could literally add up 39 plus 39 plus 32 plus 16 plus 16 plus 16 plus 16, and you would get the same answer, which is 174 grams per mole. So at this point, you've definitely got a mark. Anywhere that you have to work out a relative formula mass like this, and it's quite extended, they will give you a mark for getting to that stage. And now you've got 2 options for how you can get to the number of moles. The first one is that you're going to rearrange the equation. So if you're confident doing this, then we need to get moles being the subject. So we need to divide both sides of the equation by MR. And we get mass divided by MR. So that's 400.2 divided by 174, which is 2.3. So that would be my final answer, and that would be absolutely correct. If you're not very confident with rearranging equations, the other thing you can do is to substitute directly. So if I take my masses Mr. Mole equation, I know that the mass is 400.2, so I write that in the right place. I know that the MR is 174, so I write that in place. And then we can use an algebraic letter to represent moles. The traditional letter to use is N, but you could use any letter. So I've now got 400.2 is 174N, and you might be a little bit more confident with that and saying, well, if I want to know what 1N is, then I obviously need to divide by 174. So you end up doing exactly the same calculation that you would do anyway and getting exactly the same answer. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you are finding these walkthrough videos useful. If you are, then don't forget to like and subscribe for more GCSE Science videos coming soon.